from uptown, you know my sound is major. I know you like the lyrics, kid, so just do me a favor. Tell the tech to turn my dad up. This is a back cut, hey, yo, don't back up. Because I wanna dive in and swim in the mentals, where your thoughts roam. I wanna make you know my home, therefore you'll never be alone. But when you hear my song, sing along with the rhythm. Cause I got faith in fat beats that I give them. Yes, it's the ears and I'm checking out the blonde one. Maybe I can have one, maybe I can con one. Chill, I'm one with God, brothers, it's hard to stay straight until you're scared straight, and then you can't wait to get out.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. Wow, Ramon, I'll tell you what, you know, this, I guess I got to say it every show. This year has been absolutely amazing. You know, I just posted a couple hundred pictures on our Facebook page.
I saw those.
Album, as I think I titled it, "What's Up There" or something like that. And it's just a sampling of some pictures I've taken here in the last couple of months of things that I see in the sky when I walk outside, especially if something's going on. That it's like the connection I have to spirit now. It tickles me and says, "Look up here," type thing. And I have been seeing some absolutely amazing stuff in the skies. I've got one picture on there. I shared that with you just a few minutes ago, Ramon. It's undeniably an angel. I mean, it's the classic angel with wings, and then it morphed into the phoenix. Just amazing stuff.
I saw two orbs in the second picture you sent.
Oh, that was a phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting because I was like, "What is that?" And they were both like two different colors. I mean, I'm sure it's easy to say like, "Oh, those are optical illusions," or what they call ghosts. Ghost in the pictures, as the lens professionals call it. But you know what's interesting, and we can ask our guest because he seems to know a lot about those things. But it seems like because it's funny enough, I have two students that design lens for two different companies, and that's their job. They design lens for cameras, and they work really hard on trying to get those things out of the way. And I know that, like our guest, he does the opposite. He tries to find technology that actually shows everything as is. So it's almost like a unknown conspiracy or a known conspiracy to block things out of the camera.
Yeah, you know, and that bleeds over into the consciousness of people on this planet. I mean, they're not. I don't know. I guess we're trained from day one not to expect the unexpected. You know, not to expect anything alive in the clouds, not to expect anything alive in the world around us. It's all immaterial, or it's all just matter, inert, unconscious matter, and we are the only conscious things on this planet. You know, that we've put ourselves, Western societies put ourselves up on the soapbox, and we are the king of the hills, and everything else is subhuman, something.
Yeah, you know what's funny? It kind of, and I know I probably do this every episode. It reminds me of a Star Trek episode, The Next Generation.
Well, we jumped into Star Trek early.
Yeah, right. The first season, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, where they were terraforming a planet and supposedly there was no life, and what they found was that there was this silicon microscopic intelligent life, and they were draining like this salt water out of the thing, and that's what they used to kind of communicate and also to help reflect light. And they lived off light. With the problem was that they were doing it, and the scientists were ignoring the facts that these intelligent beings were giving them signs, and intelligent signs like geometric patterns. So they declared war on them because they were destroying their homes. So it just reminds me of how ignorant we can be that no, life is like this and this is what it looks like. Intelligent life looks like this, and if it's not this, then it's not that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a really direct correlation between my own, my situation, my state of mind, and I've been seeing all these things in the sky here this year. It's just absolutely amazing the types of things I've seen. But I'm getting it's like a direct reflection of where I am at when I look up. It's like like the other day it was the angel, and I was thinking divine. I was feeling divine. I was feeling that that angelic type of attitude, I guess, that I had, where I was. I guess I'm just trying to say it seems like it's being reflected directly from my personal state, the state that I'm in at that moment, and I just find it absolutely amazing to see that reflection in such a blatant way, in from at least from my perspective. Anyways.
Yeah, I think we should bring our guest because the things we're talking about definitely he has a lot to say about that. So
well, we'll head off in a different direction at first with him, and then we'll circle back into that kind of thing. So we've got John D. Riley with us tonight. We've had him on the show a couple of times in the past, and absolutely enjoyed what he brought to the table. John's a researcher in alternative energy and science with a diverse background from top secret projects at Lockheed's Skunkworks division to advanced special effects. His mission to see new perspectives on technologies and human awareness takes him traveling the globe to unlock the secrets once known by the ancients. His website is zeropointresearch.com. Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, John.
Absolute pleasure to be back. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. So last year, I guess it's about a year ago now that when I was down there and got to actually experience some of the things that you're working on there. You work on through Zero Point Research. You work on some technology that is absolutely fascinating. And when I first, from the outside looking in without actually experiencing the life form or the life form generator, is that what's it called?
Life stream.
Life stream, excuse me. The life stream generator. For looking at it from the outside in, I had a couple of different ideas of what it was going to be like through previous experiences with other technologies. But this thing absolutely knocked me off my feet. I could not believe the sensation of that energy flowing through my body. So how's the Livestream generator business been? Have you been moving forward with that?
Yes, absolutely. It's been actually quite incredible, the level of awareness. About 6 months ago, I put a new counter on our website, which is a global counter, and it actually shows a little globe on the bottom. And I checked it 60 days after, and I noticed that we had about 72 hits from 72 different countries. I mean, we had a few hundred hits, but it was amazing how many different countries were actually visiting the website. And so when I go back there periodically, it just amazes me to see, how many different countries are actually pinging to our site and the ones that communicate and connect. So this year, I think we actually put technologies into 7 new countries. We have a couple in the process. The third one going to Norway. We have one in Switzerland, one in Sweden, and 2 went to Italy this year. And let's see, I'm leaving out a couple. Canada counts as another country, and so it's been really
Japan.
amazing. And Japan, yes, actually, I just got 2 of our clinical ones that were in the hot zones in Fukushima. They just came back for calibration, And those for the last 2 years have been doing tremendous work with the individuals. They actually take them and they put them in the hot spots where people are still, where towns are still, people are still occupying, but they're called the hot zone, right outside the hot zones. And the people who just been being in the energy over a period of time. And when they came back, they just noticed that the people were moving into purpose. They had hopefulness again. And they didn't look as ill as they did, So that's the key thing, is that when we see what's going on, and so how can I not be grateful,
Right.
And when you call me and when you ask me to be on the show, I'm like, I don't really want to do it. But I said absolutely, yeah, let's do it, and it's always great because it reminds me. Because you guys are on the outside, and I'm kind of stuck on my inside sometimes. And sometimes we don't get to see the full perspective. And it was great that you were mentioning when you came here, how you had no idea what to expect. And that's where it's very difficult. Actually, I forced myself not to be suggestive with this technology. But the ones who are curious enough will find their way to it. They will experience it, and then they'll try to put it in their own words,
Right.
what they're experiencing and what they got from it.
Okay, well, I know we've had you on a couple times in the past, but for those listeners out there who this is the first time hearing John D. Riley, would you give us a little bit of background on how this all manifested for you, how this came about, and then exactly well, we can get into it here shortly, but I'd like to understand exactly what this technology does.
Yeah, sure. Well, it starts way back when I achieved or received my top secret clearance at Lockheed Aircraft when I was working and I got transferred into the Skunkworks division. There, I was told I could never talk about what I do. And they said for the rest of your life, what you were doing for the last 6 months while you're waiting for your clearance, that's the story you tell your family and friends. And so, it's almost like it's about as close to the CIA as you can get, I guess, in regards to being under secrecy and having to tell another tale. But when I got in there, and without, of course, I won't be exposing any I won't be breaking any confidentialities tonight. But one of the key things that when we were working in the engineering department, they had sophisticated technologies that they would research with, and one of the ones that always got to me, that would always intrigue me, was the reasons why the military aircrafts were using what is considered high frequency energy. And most people, they just look at energy today and say, well, it's electricity. It is what it is. But no, we have to remember there was an infrastructure that was created back in the late 1800s, and they went with that method of energy harnessing. Now, the military, years later started to realize that there's higher efficiency levels of energy when they raised the frequency of generating electricity from the phenomenon that it is. So when we got into that, I started realizing that these higher thresholds of this high level frequency energy changed the way we understood electricity and energy, from the start. And I could not leave it alone. It kept intriguing me. And I was a young kid. I was in my 20s and asking a lot of questions, and the engineers got tired of my questions. So I was able to get into a position where I was able to experiment, and they would bring different prototypes, and it was easy for me to kind of bend what I needed to do and actually gain access to certain machines and technology and start conducting my own experiments. And they unfortunately they weren't able to last very long, or I'd get in trouble. But in that I was able to realize that these high levels of energy that can be generated, and how they're super efficient and almost right parallel to nature. And so this is where it got interesting in my career. Once I left Lockheed back in the early '80s, I kept that with me. And I had to keep asking myself, well, what am I going to do now that I'm not doing this? And I always wanted to work in the motion pictures. So I started to, create technologies that no one else had in the motion picture industry. So I was known as bringing, state-of-the-art technology, and so that kept us going for 23 years, working on all the top, movies, with the Spielberg, Cameron, Zemeckis.
Right.
So we have, quite a list, and it was really interesting because there was actually, if I may, because I had kind of an epiphany the other day, and I think you guys kind of, actually a few months ago, and I think on our last show you talked about Nikola Tesla, and we always end up talking about Tesla, and I talk about the Tesla consciousness, and some people are out there saying that they're the reincarnated so and so's, out there on the planet, and if someone, and one of the things that, for some reason, in my research and higher level of consciousness, I realized that when Tesla left this planet, he took a state of samadhi. He was alone, and he chose, and he left his body. And when someone does that, they usually turn into consciousness. So they transmute their energy, and they move into a higher dimensional realm. And so they don't choose to re-embody themselves.
Right.
So so one of the things that I realized is that I was connected to this Tesla consciousness. Now, I always thought that I was a contradiction because Tesla constantly was building technologies in his head, and he would patent them before he would even build them, because he had the ability to construct them completely in his head to every screw and rivet and coil winding, and have it function in his head. And then he would put it on paper. Now, I was doing that in the motion picture industry. I was building circuit boards and designing things all the time. I'd lay down and I'd put myself in a state of consciousness, and I'd completely design these vast circuit boards, full of electronics in my head. And I wouldn't stop until they worked in my head, and then the next day I'd start building them. People would come in 3 or 4 days later and see these huge boards, and they're looking around. They go, "Where's your schematic?" And they go, it's in my head. And they're like, "You're kidding me. You've got like 800 parts on here, and this is all in your head?" I go, "Yeah." I said, I worked it out in my head, and now I'm just building it. I'm going to, make it work now. And they just walk away. They couldn't comprehend that. But that was the way I always was in the industry. So then, I look at this, and I had reflection in my own path. And as similar as Tesla designed hundreds of inventions in his life, I was doing the same thing, but I was hiding in the motion picture industry, because people would come to us and say, "Can you do this?" And I would say, "Yes." And they say, "Well, the best effects guys say it can't be done." I go, "No, we can do it." And they'd say, "Are you sure?" Because everyone else says it can't be done. And I go, "Yeah, it can be done." And so we were always doing that. We were always bringing it forth. And so I was not giving myself this credit of being in this Tesla consciousness until recently. I said, wait a minute, my mind has always worked that way. I am still doing it. I'm constantly inventing and bringing forth in my mind. I'm constructing these technologies constantly, and I'm turning them on, and I'm seeing what they're doing. And then I put it off to the side. I said, okay, I'll build that someday. So it gets really I don't even know the word for it, but it's really profound when you start to realize it. That how certain levels of consciousness could have you in this creative process, and you're multidimensionally creating,
right,
on a constant basis, and that's what truly keeps me sane. In the work that I do, is that I'm constantly constructing, and I'm doing this with my hands as well as my mind. We're doing rudimentary stuff, or not rudimentary, but repetitive work when we construct the live streams. I do that all from my head as well. I have an apprentice that's working with me now, and I put one together in front of him. And he goes, "Well, where's your designs?" And I go, "It's all in my head." He goes, "Wow." He says, "You build all of them that way?" I go, "Yes, it has to be done this way."
What that kind of reminds me of is, I'm getting an echo. It kind of reminds me of the 4-minute mile. Like Tesla might have been the first person to do that, and then, other people can see how easy it can be done.
Well, it falls very similar to what we talk about the 100th monkey. It's when it's that shift in consciousness that happens, and all of a sudden it's on. At first it's deemed impossible, it can't be done. Then someone does it, and then the whole platform of consciousness changes on the planet.
Right.
And the ones who don't change, of course, they get ejected from the systems. If they say, no, that's not true, it can't be done. It said, yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it over here. And if that person stays there and denounces it and rejects it, well, they're going to get pushed off to the side. But everyone else is going to move forward and accept it and then start utilizing it. And then it starts popping up all over the world.
What I find really fascinating is what you said. You had a sort of an epiphany where you recognize this level of consciousness within yourself. That is such an amazing feeling when you can actually see it from that objective perspective. The actual workings of God or universe, however you want to term it, in our lives, and that is outside the box. That I just I've had quite a few of those this year. Those realizations that there's more going on here than what meets the eye and what we've been told is supposed to be going on.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I would say if we know 1% of 1%, at this point in time, and that's and I use this phrase quite often, is that in this lifetime that we're here in this cycle, we're trying to move ourselves out of kindergarten.
Right.
And once we do that, we're gonna apex, and our consciousness is gonna shift into this whole different level, and there's gonna be a merging of the past and the future simultaneously, and we're gonna rewire ourselves, to be able to accept this level of comprehension. Because right now, I challenge everyone, that's on this planet to meet me in front of the Great Pyramid in Cairo at any time, and then tell me how this was done, and then build one just like it.
Right.
Because right now it hasn't been done, and if someone says, "Well, yeah, I could do it, but why?" Then that they're not being honest with you. And it's like the same thing. Is that what we have what we call the dream stealers? There's a guy that's been working at the Coral Castle, for a few years. And all of a sudden he just sits there all day and he says, "Oh yeah, how Nietzsche did this was on simple principles. He was able to do counter levers and weights and anchoring systems, and he just sits there and he's been saying this story over and over so much he believes it."
Yeah.
And people just walk in and they don't even argue with him anymore, because he's just so into that story. But he sits in this chair all day and just says what was done and how it was done and how simple it was. But he hasn't gone out there and proved it.
Right.
And so this is where it gets pretty fascinating. You just have to honor that illusion that a person has hardwired themselves into. So it gets, and we'll see that around us. This is what, you're talking about, Tom, is that, where we're told, of this is the way it is, and that's the only way it is, and there's nothing more to it. It's as simple as that. That's that person tethered into that reality, and they're trying to keep you in theirs.
Right.
So we have to kind of, just look at them gracefully and say, I denounce your reality and substitute it with one of my own. I borrowed that from Mythbusters.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a great line. I said I'm going to use that someday.
Okay, so tell us about the generator. What exactly are we doing with the energy there? How are we projecting it? And what's the I guess the principles behind it?
Well, the principles behind it stem to Nikola Tesla's radiant energy research back in 1899 when he was working in Colorado Springs. What Nikola Tesla did, and if everyone knows the proper history, George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla were the first ones to put the wires across the planet from the first hydrodynamic power plant in Niagara Falls. And with that, it was the methods of alternating current and how it stuck and how we wired the world based on that. But Nikola Tesla, once he completed this, he went and furthered his research, continued to move into a higher state of consciousness, started realizing the balance between nature and life on the planet, and started to creating what was called etherical energy, or what we call wireless energy. A lot of people get it mixed up with what is called free energy. But when we look at it, his research, he was able to generate these pulses and into the Earth, and what would happen is the Earth would respond in kind, creating a polarization between the Earth and the ionosphere, generating what would be considered a dynamo of energy. And this energy would propagate etherically and just commingle with everything that is above surface. And from there, we can actually harness this energy, capture it, and utilize it. So he was able to amplify the natural state, a million times in his amplification, so we can then harness it. And his vision was to create these generators around the globe, unifying the planet into and creating this etherical energy, which was in harmony. Once he got it right, it was in complete harmony with nature. And from there, we can sustain, vehicles wirelessly in the sky, at 30,000 feet, and they would just absorb this energy. We can have ships across the sea, and we can have vehicles driving, and everyone can power their homes with this wireless energy. So this was his next level of infrastructure. And he wanted to give it as a gift. That's what the history of free energy came from. So now when we look at that, I became obsessed with that understanding of what Nikola Tesla was trying to give the world when he wasn't able to back then. When the Wardenclyffe Tower was not turned on.
Right.
It was stopped before, it was 80% complete before it was actually scrapped. So when we look at his principles and what he was achieving in Colorado Springs, that really took me to a whole different level of research. And from there, I stumbled across George Van Tassel's work and his structure out in Landers, California, here called the Integratron. And what he was doing was to create this 50-foot hemisphere dome that would generate natural energy from the etherical realm of the Earth, thus creating cellular rejuvenation in life on this planet. And all you had to do was take a pilgrimage to the Integratron. Once it was turned on, you'd walk through it for 45 seconds, and you walk out, and your cells would be bombarded with this etherical energy, thus reverting them back up to a healthy nominal state, recharging the human system, and then you would go back into your way of life with a higher quality, with a clear conscious understanding and physical balance. So these were principles that, again, and his technology was about 80% complete, and it never got turned on. He died, and the technology never came forth to mankind. So these were two very important paths that I pursued, and when I went to the Integratron, I finally understood the principles that same thing Nikola Tesla was trying to show in energy capturing with his components, and what George Van Tassel was trying to do with the Integratron. So taking both of those principles, I was able to understand what they were bringing and how we had to move to the next level of understanding of what energy capturing methods are. And of course, my focus was to bring balance to the weakened human system. Is that because everything kept telling me that we should not be struggling this way. We're in this high level of intellect. Why are our bodies failing us so quickly? And these were messages, that were kind of left, through different cycles of this planet. And when we start to realize, what the human system is capable of, even the medical industry talks about that the human organism should actually last, a couple hundred years with no problem.
Right.
But there's programs that our DNA are activating that causes us to age quicker than we actually should or are capable of. So this is one of the key things, is that when we start stumbling upon this, we start understanding higher thresholds of energy, And that's how I came across the what we call the life stream generator. It's a radiant energy generator in an individual box, and it mimics what the Integratron was going to do, but on a much smaller level. And these devices are made for the individual up to a small group of people, up to 50 people, 100 people. So when we generate it, the smallest one, and we turn it on, almost 9 out of 10 people immediately within 5 to 10 minutes start to feel very present. Their minds all of a sudden just calibrate to the now. They're not drifting. They're not thinking of the past. They're not, thinking about the future. And they just start, their mind starts to go into what we call homeostasis, starts to drop into balance. And the same thing, when that happens, the cells of our human system starts to open up and just take this energy in. Then we go into what we call the saturation effect. The radiant energy is brought forth in a very profound way. And it absorbs. It goes, and believe me, it's cellular. It's permeating our cellular system, and in a good way. This is one of the most important things to understand. And our cells absorb it. Every single cell, the 100 trillion cells we have in our body, will absorb this energy. And depending on physical condition and age, kind of dictates the response to the energy field itself. Some people will be in that energy for about 15 or 20 minutes and absorb it like a sponge, and then after that they start to broadcast this energy. When we get topped off, when we actually watch our cells recharge and fill up with this energy, and then we start to emit it, we start to become amplifiers of the energy. So that's always been really intriguing. But one of the key things is that when you can ask anyone in the room that's experiencing it, you ask them to think of a negative thought, they just start laughing at you. Huh. And they're like, I can't even think of really anything except for what we're doing right now, right here. I go, exactly. And that's where the magic in life is when all of a sudden we can bring forth an energy field that puts us in the present moment or in the 0 point state. And we have to bring forth this etherically binding energy, which we can call the 0 point field. Because, in the 0 point, well, we have to understand it. The 0 point is neither positive nor negative. It is the threshold in between. Mm. And that is exactly what this technology does. It puts us right in the in-between. There's no negative, there's no positive. And when we get to that point, everything changes. We go through a shift in consciousness. Our lobes in our brain now become unified. We go into what we call center thinking. It's no longer left brain, right brain. We're centered, and we're directing our energy forth, and we can see beyond just what's in front of us. We start having a greater awareness. Now, how does that affect us physically? Well, when you shift consciousness in the body, when you shift consciousness in the mind, the body's going to follow, unless we're holding on to old beliefs. But now the key thing is that, this is a profound energy field. So this kind of nudges our cells in a way that it doesn't want to go back. It wants to benefit. It wants to be in this fountain, in this life stream of energy. Right. And when it does, we get to watch the clock sort of start grinding to a halt, and we start feeling the connection to our youthfulness. Once again, we start revitalizing our energy pathways naturally. Our energy, where we're having diminished areas in our body over age, starts to get revitalized, and the body and the mind naturally start to clear the imbalances. We've seen this where we can actually rid radiation poisoning out of the body from this cellular saturation effect.
So what is it about the human body that makes this energy actually be able to have these types of effects on us?
Well, it's not just the human body alone. This is all life. And in one of our first studies over 8 years ago, we worked with animals and the intuitiveness of the animals, the cats and dogs and birds that we were working with, how they responded to the energy and how they would go to it. No animal ever ran away from the life stream energy. And that always intrigued us in the intuitiveness, because they wouldn't overthink. They would just show us right away. And we were blown away by the results of what the animals were doing. And it's really great, is that because right now you're talking to us, and we're doing a hands-on certification course here in Santa Monica right now, and we're actually this Friday is going to be our 7th of 8 weeks. So we have 19 people that signed up for this course, and so we should talk about that and that process and what happens over 8 weeks. But one of the things is that when you ask the question, what is the connection between the human body and this energy? Well, the human body and our mind, we're always seeking a natural balance. We're always trying to find something to relieve our stress, because we've built this in our three-dimensional world, and in our society. We've created a race, to keep a balance, to keep the finances and the materialistic gains in place, and to build the families, and to have the retirements, and to work, and so all these structures, they're so delicately wound, and it's very easy for people to fall into stress. Right. And so when we start to hold on, when we fall out of balance, when we're chasing the dollar, or we're worrying about situations, or we're worried that we won't have enough in our retirement fund 20 years from now, and to be stressing about that right now of something that's going to happen 20 years ago, this is where it's kind of brilliant of what the mind and body are capable of. So this is where stress comes from, and it's the body and the mind being out of balance. So when we start to reconnect that, we start to bring us, and that is, the stress is going to happen because of the lack of awareness, the lack of wakefulness, because we've built ourselves into these belief mechanisms that can kind of keep us caged. Now, all of a sudden, this is how we started this conversation, is that, remember, someone has been telling you, Tom, that you can only do this.
Right.
And you won't be able to achieve any more of that. But something inside you tells you otherwise for the longest time, and you reject that, or you finally get beat down until you accept it. And then guess what? You're trapped into that belief structure that the other person imposed on you. Or you break free of it. You step away and you say, no, I don't believe this. I'm going to seek, and I'm going to gather my own information. Thank you. So this is where it gets interesting, is when we take that approach in life, then all of a sudden we're going to free ourselves of these binding, uncomfortable energy fields that other people are imposing on you. And you're going to get in touch with your true innate self of joy and desire, and your self-purpose, and this is where it gets really interesting, is when you have a clear path to that. And, when I ask a person, they say, what brings you joy in life? And all of a sudden they discover it, and they talk about it, and they're smiling. And then you ask them the trick question. It's like, how come you're not doing that? And all of a sudden you see all those beliefs go right back onto them. And they say, because I have to, or I don't have. And it's like that's when you get them to a level of consciousness, a higher level of consciousness, then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, what did I just say? I was feeling this joy and this purpose, and I could see it clearly. Then all of a sudden I just put all these beliefs back on me, and now I'm completely uncomfortable.
And I don't like you for it.
Yeah, well, they can take it out on you at first, unless they're truly on the journey. And then they're realizing it's that's going on in their own mind. They're their worst enemies. It's like, wow, I'm shooting myself in the foot. I've got these programs of limitations, and the more and more we do the work, the deeper we stem to when they originated in our programming, in our life. When Uncle Joe told us this is the way it's got to be, this is the way it's going to be in your life, and you're like, wow, Uncle Joe did that. He was the first person. And it's like, well, thanks, Uncle Joe, but now that doesn't apply anymore. And then if we see the arc of how life has expanded on this planet from just the limited history that we have ourselves, we can see that we never stay, hindered to one outcome. I mean, what's really amazing is that you can look at a simple chart of how fast humans have become since the Olympics. They're always getting faster. No one's slowing down. No one's saying, "Oh, that's it. We've reached our peak. We can't. Right. Humans can't go any faster." And we're breaking free. I mean, look at the X Games. I mean, we're looking at guys almost defying gravity now because of the reality, the fourth dimensional reality that I like to call filmmaking. has shown us. We're breaking the bonds of what we call gravity, and these guys are finding a way, and they almost like, they're almost breaking the bounds of what we consider impossible.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you tell me that we're these limited beings. So there's this point that happens where we can see these arcs, and guess what? Technologies, people like myself, are in that collective consciousness, and we're going to bring forth technologies that will assist people to remember or to get and to move into a higher state of consciousness, free themselves of these cages of limitations on all levels.
Yeah. One thing that really impressed me with the live stream generator when I was down there was that you can actually feel the energy flowing through your body when you're during the treatments. And there's so many of these technologies that are out there that you just really don't have much of a sensation with. So just that in itself, being able to actually feel the energy actually flowing is has a quite a few different effects on the consciousness of the people experiencing it. I mean, when you have something really tangible there that you're experiencing, the consciousness looks at it and goes, "Oh, wow, something real is happening here," and that in itself, that lends that active part of our consciousness lends so much more effectiveness to this technology too. At least that's the way I kind of see it.
Well, that's a perfect vision, Tom, and thank you for seeing it that way. One of the key factors is that when we look at there's this, it's kind of hard to put into words. I'm sure you visited my Facebook page.
Oh yeah,
and it's John D. Riley. But when you look at my timeline wall, you see that ancient artwork of the two priests in the temple standing before this pillar, also known as the Jed pillar. And when I finally stumbled upon that, I did not see that until I started creating the live stream technologies. And then, if you go to Egypt and you look at that symbolism on the wall, they're saying the priests, these are the high priests of the temples, that they're praying to Osiris. They're honoring Osiris. And I kept looking at it and go, wait a second. Well, when you stand in front of the consciousness technology, almost every individual raises their hands to receive this energy. So they're receiving energy. They're not really praying, because we don't pray to the technology in any way, shape, or form. It is giving to us. And so, but we immediately, we put our fingers up, our hands, as all the receptors in our fingers and our meridians want to absorb the energy naturally. So 9 out of 10 people will raise their hands up to it, and they have an immediate, instinct to reach out and touch it. So when I started seeing the symbolism on the wall that happened thousands of years ago, and it's like, what are they doing? And of course, when people don't understand the energy, they think, well, they're making offerings, or they're, but then when we understand, well, wait a minute, they understood how to generate energy on completely unique, different levels than what we understand today.
Right.
And so this thing was emitting an energy field.
So have you had an opportunity to have anybody that's you've treated with the live stream generator do the, you've seen the brain scans, right? The brain activity scans.
Yes.
That would be a fascinating study to see the before and after, before the live stream generator and after the live stream generator, and see what kind of changes take effect inside the brain.
That is true. I actually wanted to conduct that study myself and actually go in and get the whole volley of PET scans, CAT scans, MRIs, and then experiment with that. But we would almost need a control. You need people that were before and afters to really see that. Right. We've seen that many times with aura aura tests, where people would go and get their auras and they'd go through a live stream experience, and then they'd go back, Carillion photography, and it would just be a completely different energy field. And and then you blood analysis befores and afters, you can see the tangible changes in the life force in the blood flow, and the reduction of the bacteria because the immune system's kicking in, at a higher level. All these start to click in. We start to see it from a higher level. So yeah, that shift in consciousness, and we've seen that, where they've studied Tibetan monks that would meditate for hours upon hours,
Right.
and they've taken them and scanned them and see that they use certain parts of their brain that are enlarged compared to the rest of us.
Yeah.
So we start seeing this turning on.
I was wondering if you ever tried that with like an acupuncturist. Like while he's doing that, you turn that machine on because they leave these needles in, and I feel like that would increase it, especially for any. I guess it would be one way to specify. So if a person goes in, for example, a back injury, and the acupuncturist puts his needles where they need to be, and you turn on that machine, it would just go directly right to that area.
So I don't think John has any problems with directing that energy, though. At least that's what I experienced.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct, Ramon. That remember, the needles, the acupuncture needles, are mimicking antennas, and that's the reason why we're putting them down in the key points in the body, is to stimulate the energy pathways. Now, absolutely, because of how Livestream works, it's a radiant energy field. It's etherical binding. It propagates out around us and through us. Now, Tom experienced that. You can touch this technology, or I could touch you and send energy. You can feel the energy when you're standing before it without being connected to it in any way, shape, or form. So,
I experienced it too. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do. Yes, you experienced it from almost the same way. But one of the key factors is that little needle going to receive the energy and amplify it and send it into the body? Without a doubt, it does. And we have some acupuncturists that actually use it. They place their needles, and then they take the technology, and they use the little ones because it's a strong enough field, and they turn it on about 15 feet away, and they slowly start bringing it in until a person senses the increase of the energy and says, okay, yeah, that feels pretty good. And so then they balance it. They don't put it 2 feet away and turn it on because it could be pretty profound. So they ease into the field because you're amplifying, the points in the body with the needles already. So yeah, it's always exciting to watch that, and that's the key. That's the reason why this technology is coming forth, is to be an amplification for all these methods out there. Not to replace anything. You would never hear me say Livestream is it. You don't need anything else. It's not. It's an amplification tool. And that's the reason why we're working on medical research. That's the reason why we're working to construct a technology that goes alongside cancer therapies. That after people go through radiation and chemotherapy, they go through a Livestream treatment. And they lay on a table similar to an MRI. They get saturated with radiant energy for about 15 or 20 minutes, and we will watch the body recover 300 to 500 times faster.
Wow!
And this is already being done around the planet, and people are working with these methods, and it's accompanying it. And we want to see the success rate increase. Of what methods are there, and that's how we're working to shift the paradigms. We're not trying to eject what is in existence now, and to replace it. That's not going to work. This technology will never come forth if we take that approach or attitude. We have to find a harmony with what's in existence, and then let consciousness dictate the shift. And we'll watch the paradigm shift when people start to realize what it's capable of.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if you ever took it to the never pronounced it, Trigger, the place that Van Tassel made.
Yeah, the Integratron.
Integratron.
Oh, absolutely. I've anchored, or we established every model there I had a when we first brought them forth, I brought the prototype because after I spent 2 days there, remember that place is an energetic accumulator. Depending on your state of consciousness is going to dictate what you're going to get from it. So I spent the night downstairs. Almost everyone goes and sleeps up in the dome. I didn't. I was at the accumulator down below. And even the owner said, "Well, that's really interesting. You chose to sleep there because that's the hot spot. That's where the highest level of energy is." And they go, "Yeah, most people just like being in the dome because it's that it's the dome." And I go, "Yeah, no, the energy's down here. That's what Van Tassel was doing. He was focusing it, to be at this place at this point." And then they're like, "Yeah, you're right." So that when I left, I said, in 6 months, I will be back with the prototype. I now understand, and they went, "Well, good luck with that. We've heard that for years, with all these people coming in." I said, "I'll be back." And I did. I came back 6 months, almost on to the day, with this little black box and this little thing that was just barely held together with twine and hot glue, not really, but it was. I was so excited when I finally found the right combination of principles, and it was just barely held together. And I brought it out there, and I said, if theoretically, what this does outside here, when we bring it in here, it should be amplified, 100 times, if not more. And when we did, that little box was stronger than the highest level technology I have today.
Wow.
Yeah, that place accumulated, and because it's an accumulator on an intersecting grid line of the Earth, and the way George Van Tassel designed it falls within the original sacred geometry of the tabernacles of Moses, or and this understanding of this geometry, the way the temples, holy temples all over the world use this accumulation technique. This is built on the same understandings, and so when we bring the technology in and turn it on, it's amplified anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times. And now, what was real exciting is when we did the same thing in Egypt, and I took small technologies that were battery operated that I could take in a backpack, and I take them outside and measure the fields. And I'd get the normal readings, but then I'd take them all the way into the temples, into the holiest of holies, where all the energy is focused. And then I'd turn that on, and it would just resonate the entire place. Our meters would go off the scale, and we're like, thus the science has been proven. Exactly what the ancients understood, how to accumulate this energy from the earth. And then, of course, their technologies, they knew how to create the structures.
Right.
And it's just like George Van Tassel. The structure's there, and it does about 10% of what it was originally going to do, because the accumulator is still in its natural place and form. So that part of the technology, but the other component was never turned on. And it's just like when we go into the holiest of holies in the temples of Egypt, we could see there was something else there that's just not there anymore. It was probably organic in nature, and it didn't, or it was removed. So these are the missing elements. So it's not just the chamber itself. It's like that chamber was constructed to amplify something else.
Yeah, that's definitely a field that I find quite fascinating. The sacred geometry and the structures, the buildings that we used to build on this planet that did harness and focus energies. And oh my, what a crime that we've lost that. Now we all live in these little square boxes, and our whole society's built on square, sharp angle corners, and without any consideration at all of even feng shui, but that's coming back, and that's what really is making me very optimistic about the future, is that so many people are starting to see this and starting to realize that there is definitely something tangible to what our ancestors, the way our ancestors constructed this world. So, good stuff. It's really good.
Oh, it is. When we start connecting the dots, so we can start seeing these arcs, and these energetic arcs that have been happening on the planet, these cycles are almost obvious that there was this intelligence and then there was a fall off.
Right.
There was an intelligence, or what we perceive as intelligence or higher consciousness, and then there was a fall off. And it almost, we can almost measure it once we step outside of our perspective and realize our whole solar system is in movement around the universe, around the galaxy.
Right.
And then our galaxy is in movement around the universe. And once in a while, these alignments, just like our planetary alignments happen, the same thing happens with the galactic alignment. And we start getting these higher thresholds of energy that will intermix with the energetics of our planet. Then when that happens, thus consciousness will shift, either from the higher state or the lower state.
I'm curious, have you noticed any increase or change in the output of some of your older units that from, say, when you first started this up, some of the first ones that you built, from the measurements of the energy then to now, and if there's any change because of just time and location in the galaxy, I suppose.
Absolutely. The technologies that we made 8 years ago, if I copy the same methods, they won't work. They blow out. So they have to be reduced down in input power to do the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very interesting to see that. I cannot build the technologies the same way as I did 8 years ago. But there is a phenomenon that happens is once the technologies were constructed and utilized, they continue to work. Yeah, so it's like they anneal themselves. And they always do this. They adjust, because some people say, well, I turned on my live stream and it's like it's acting weird. It's like sputtering and it's like oscillating in its energy. And I said, yeah, check the space weather right now. There's a geomagnetic storm hitting the planet, and they're like, what? That's affected? This technology is affected by that? I go, absolutely. It's an etherical, energy generator. So what's happening on our planet, the live stream will be affected by it as well. So it might shift its energy field. It might pulse and put out higher energy, or it might be lower one day.
Wow.
But they rarely blow out. We're really good at keeping them. The chaotic event that generates what we call radiant energy, we keep chaos stable. It's the same thing. Is like when we look at nuclear power plants and how they're generated. They're controlling chaos, and they're keeping it right at bay, and they get it right at that arc, and then this incredible energy unleashes, and then they capture that energy, they utilize it. And then, but you got to keep it right there. If you go too far, you lose it. It goes into a catastrophic event.
Right.
And it destabilizes. Now, then we have another reaction that we have to deal with. The good thing about live stream, it doesn't do that. It doesn't fall into a catastrophic. It just turns itself off. But again, it's like when we get to these high thresholds of power, it's right at that edge of a chaotic event. We're at that threshold, and we have to stabilize that. And it's only up to man and their perception to be able to control that. And then there are other scenarios that can get into the play that creates that chaotic event that we talk about. Then all of a sudden, man is humbled and going, really, wow, we run the illusion thinking that we can control this. And stop that chaotic event from happening. And then we got our hands spanked, we got the wake-up calls, and then we realized that we were playing with fire for 50 years. And now it's time for us to change our approach and think of a different way of energy harnessing.
Yes, definitely. Okay, well, John, we burned up that hour awful damn fast. I can't believe it's actually over already.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we get that time vortex, don't we?
Yeah, we did. It kind of sucked us right through. So we share with our listeners where they can get a hold of you, and what do you got coming up in the near future? I know you're doing that certification class right now, and we'll definitely get into that in the next hour. But what do you got on the agenda?
Well, the agenda, the rest of this year is kind of just cruise through this. We've been, completing our first certification course in 4.5 years. So we're going to have 19 people certified here locally that's going to branch out and do the work. And the good thing about it is that we've been editing, or we've been taping each of the course. So we're actually putting an online course on our website, so people will actually be able to do the training around the world. So we're real excited about that. So I've been focusing on the editing and the assembling of each of the weeks, and putting them up there, and then letting our clients, Italy, Switzerland, Norway, that the online course is coming. So they're real excited about this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, we definitely want to talk about what's been going on in those classes for our listeners, and see if we can't spark some more interest out there.
Sounds great.
So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the first hour. If you are not members yet, I would urge you to click that join button and become another monkey, and have access to all that second-dollar content. And we will be back after this short break for the second hour with John Riley. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
See you on the other side.
It's hard to stay straight until you're scared straight, and then you can't wait to get out. Then you shout, damn, I got freedom. Unless it's being taught, black man, I know you need one. The right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. The plan, then that's the native. Shouldn't tell an artist not to be creative. You see, the motive is to control more than business. Hitless enoughness in the soul, and I'll bring much more than your average MC. Please give me a break, man. Let me be me, so I can be free to do as I please. See what I see, be who I be. And yo, act like me. I got the rhyme and my timing from the center. Lyrics on the brain, even when I start to enter. The beats I'm bending, the vibes I'm sending, it's pleasure, never better. Even though shit is a mess, I never stress, in touch with insight, therefore I'm blessed with the armor. Tell your mama, but kill the drama. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. Yo, the master rhymer indiscreet. I walk the street with the knowledge, learning about things that you can't get in college, like science from the pavement, beats from the basement. My mouth full of lyrics, then the label makes the placement. Then my face went across the screen. This girl saw me getting raw to the beats with the ghetto lean. My self-esteem went through the roof. Stepped into the club, yo, I got juice, got loose on the MI. Now she's in my face, dragging me all around the place. Damn, it's a disgrace that I can't enjoy my craft, spew my math, cause I'm too busy running away from this girl with the dumb laugh. My patch straight, so I lose the habit, and yo, I bounce like a rabbit. Yo, she's got the habit, cause she's chasing me. I'm out the door, kid, it's in the soul, and I'm free. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake